That's where I grew up. I get on the back of his motorcycle and we drive like, I don't know, must have been like almost an hour outside of the city to I can't even remember the name of the prefecture. And we get to this, what's up?
Where did you say it was? The city?
I can't, it's outside of Tokyo. I can't even remember the name of the station or the prefecture, but I went on the back of his motorcycle, you know? So this Japanese coach that took a liking to me, and I liked him, of course. He was a great guy. I got on the back of his motorcycle and he drove me out of the city to some random gym that he told me I should go train.
To sell you for parts.
Yeah, no, exactly, right. I trust him.
What's going on in your head? I'm like, I barely know this guy.
I'm just like this, you know, and I'm just like, all right, let's go spar with I don't know who, you know, I don't know where we're going. So
your word for it, Mr. Miyagi.
No, exactly. So we got to the gym on the outside of the city, and the gym's name was RJW Wajutsu Keishukai. And Wajutsu Keishukai, that's the parent company of all of the gyms. It's like a chain. And RJW was the particular branch that we visited. And I remember walking up the stairs, and when he opened the door for me and we both walked in, I see Call Uno,
no way,
Yushin Okami, Yoshihiro Akiyama.
They're all there?
Yuka Nezu, who's a very good Shuto fighter. So many guys. And Yushin Okami was in the UFC at the time. I think he was about to fight Anderson Silva for the second time. Mm-hmm. And it's like a who's list of the best fighters in Japan. And they're all Pride, UFC, or Shuto, like super fighters and veterans. And I look around and there are no other amateur fighters, and it's just all seasoned. It's just me. And they all look at me.
Make you happy or scared?
To be honest, I was more excited than anything. I know that's like kind of crazy, but I was just like kind of like, I wasn't scared, but I was like, there was an acceptance in my brain too, that right when I walked in, I was like, okay, I'm gonna get my ass kicked.
Yeah. Well, but
like 100%.
One of the best things with any sport that you're going into, especially like combat sports, or anything that you're starting in, to come in with that humility, because in anything, whether it's sports or in life, you find the moments where you're certain or you're sure of yourselves, and that's exactly where you've stopped learning. So if you come in and say, I'm going to get my ass kicked and it's going to be awesome.
No.
And you just say it that way rather than I'm going to be getting my ass kicked.
No, exactly. Like, you know, I'm here. And at that point also, like, I kind of decided that I wanted to see how far I could push it, that I knew that I had like you know, some natural ability, and that I transitioned very well from wrestling into MMA. And I was just kind of curious too. I was like, well, I'm going to get my ass kicked, but how can I do with these guys that have like 20 or 30 pro fights already? Yeah. And I haven't even had my first amateur fight yet. So I was like, okay, I'm going to get my ass kicked. Let's try it. And no, I did get my ass kicked. Yushin Okami gave me my very first black eye.
What?
Yeah. So really? Yushin Okami.
I
remember we were sparring with the MMA gloves too. Yo, like we were sparring with the MMA gloves, which are 4-ounce gloves.
Yeah.
And Yushin is a former middleweight, and now he's a welterweight in one championship. But at the time, he was a middleweight in the UFC. And he gave me my first black eye with 4-ounce small gloves, and he's like 3 weight classes above me. And but I embraced it. I thought it was fun. It was cool, you know.
I would be walking out of that gym, like, you know, just showing it off, like, guess where I got this? You should see Yushin Okami.
No, actually, I think it was it? Oh, I think that was the 3rd time I went to that gym that I got the black eye. And then when I was on the train on the way back, because I had to go somewhere, so I didn't get dropped off with my coach on the motorbike. And when I was on the train on the way back after the black eye, I did take a selfie of the black eye. I don't know where the photo is. It must be on one of my old...
You have to send it.
No, I have to for sure. It's on one of my old phones. But I remember I was happy. I was like, well, I'm gonna get black eyes in this business, and who better than the guy that's about to fight Anderson Silva and is like a top contender in the UFC.
If you're gonna get marred by someone, it might as well be the best of the best.
No, is that better than a best of the best guy than some tomato can, you know, who's like, you know, it's like, okay, then maybe I shouldn't be in this sport if a tomato can is marking me up, right? So
Do you like getting hit, Mark? How are you with, I know some people have an aversion to it. And
Right.
Like people, I guess people like Nate Diaz are just like hungry for it. Like they don't start smiling
Right.
and they don't start revving their engines up unless they've got at least 5 lacerations on their face.
Yeah, there's some guys that are like that, like Forrest Griffin. He used to fight better after he started getting tagged. No, I'm not like that, to be honest. Like, I believe in hit and don't get hit.
Yeah.
But like, I definitely don't mind getting punched. Happen, you're in fight sport, and thankfully I haven't had that many serious injuries. I had a fractured orbital. I had a fractured orbital in my left side that I took from what was that? Oh, Yusuke Kawanago in Legend Fighting Championship. I fought this Japanese fighter Yusuke in Legend in Macau, and he head kicked me in the 3rd round, and I dropped. And I recovered though, and I ended up winning the fight. So at least I won the fight. You did recover.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah. No, but actually the funny thing with that was, it was a fractured orbital. So like, it's supposed to be like straight here, but it was like that. And there was no bruising or anything after. So weeks went by, and I was sleeping okay. And then one night I was sleeping on this part on the side of my face, and I realized it was this electric tingly shock going through the side of my face. And this was like a month later after the fight. So I went to get an x-ray. I went to get a scan, and they said, yo, dude, you got a fractured orbital bone. And what the hell have you been doing? And I was like, well, it didn't feel anything, and there was no bruising. How was I supposed to know? Like, it was just a little weird one.
Like slowly coming out of
it. What's wrong with me, guys?
It's nothing. Put some Windex on it.
I know, exactly.
Okay,
no, so good. I didn't need surgery. I went to 3 doctors. One of the doctors said I needed surgery to bring it like that. And then the other 2 doctors said that it would heal and it would be okay. So I went with 2 out of 3, and it turned out okay. It turned out okay, right?
It's funny, voices aren't as apparent as they used to be.
No, exactly.
Okay, I've got a question for you then now. Have you ever heard of flow state?
Flow state, yes, I have heard of flow state.
So it's apparent in a lot of extreme sports, especially when a lot of adrenaline junkies and in fighters as well. And because one of the factors or the triggers of flow state is obviously risk taking and grit and a lot of stake and challenge at hand. And so as a result, a lot of times, when it comes to our peak performance, it's not about a skill set, but a state of consciousness. When you get into that space where you are challenged, but you're still, the challenge to skill ratio is manageable, but you're in that environment. And that's, as a fighter, you're always in that environment. So tell me a little bit about the elation that you feel when you're there, because most of the time we're not hardwired to be put in cages fighting giants. We're hardwired to survive, maybe run away. So that state that you are in, that flow state, can you explain a little bit of what it feels like and why someone of sound mind would willingly walk into a cage and with any athlete or any challenge, basically it's kind of like a stoic philosophy of willingly putting yourself and subjecting yourself to your biggest Goliath. So can you explain a little bit about what that feels like as an athlete and how that translates into regular day life? Are you able to apply that, the way that you're able to repackage or reframe fears or uncomfortable scenarios or discomfort or obstacles?
Yeah. Okay. Well, first off, I'm an adrenaline junkie. I think all fighters are, to some degree at least, to a large degree actually, because MMA, combat sport, boxing, I view it really as like the ultimate adrenaline rush. And there was a fighter, Mark Kerr, who years ago said the same thing. He said that MMA has the highest highs and the lowest lows, really, the high of winning in front of thousands of people and that glorious moment.
That makes your career, yeah.
Yeah, no, there's nothing quite like it. And even though it only lasts for a short time, because honestly, when you get that win, as a fighter, you just look for the next challenge. You're like, okay, notch on the belt, check. What's next? You know, do I defend the title? Do I go on to some other super fight? Do I, you know, like for me, I was like, oh, I've never done combat sambo and SEA Games. That sounds awesome. Let's try that, you know? So always looking for like the next mountain to climb, the next super high, I guess. It is a drug and when you look at it in that aspect. And the lows, oh my gosh, like when you lose.
Yeah.
Especially early in my career, you do, as you get older as a fighter, you do realize that losing is part of the sport and that everybody loses in MMA. I mean, especially in MMA, because MMA is, if you look at the greats in MMA, all of them have losses, actually. Because MMA, unlike boxing, there are many more ways to lose, and there's so many variables that can play into account, you know? Unless of course you're Floyd Mayweather and you pick 50 of your fights for, 2 decades and you choose to fight guys.
A couple of losses for his psyche or his humanity.
Yeah. And exactly, like he chose the best fights at the best time, when he had some kind of advantage over the guy. Like when he fought Manny was a little past his prime and had a shoulder injury. I don't know if Mayweather knew that, but anyway, yeah, like the highs are high, the lows are lows, and I'm an adrenaline junkie, and that's why I do like fighting. But also, I just really like to compete. I'm a very competitive person, just like all athletes. But definitely to step into a cage and do combat sport, it takes a different kind of competitor because you have to realize that you are going to get hurt, and it's really kill or be killed. A guy is, and that's kind of what it feels like. Like when I step into the cage or ring, it's like, this guy is really is here to try to hurt you in front of all these people. So you have to hurt him first. Like that's
a lot at stake. It's like one of those, where the world, so one of the things with flow state is basically, when you're in your regular alpha, when we're in conversation, your brainwaves are, quite erratic. Then you get in your beta and you're kind of, closer to falling asleep, and the frontal cortex starts to quiet down. And then there's theta when you're just dreaming and where there's no resistance. So your creativity is literally, a green t-shirt can become a green elephant, can become a greenhouse. And so when you're in that flow state, everything slows down and all that exists is you and that ring and challenge in front of you. And yes, it's, it scares you, you're scared shitless, but at the same time, there's this opportunity. You see this opportunity of like when you actually face and get through and survive, the rush or the adrenaline or the experience of that heightened state of consciousness is what basically, what fulfills you. So
that's the thing. Like, I mean, to be honest, like I'm not super well read on flow state, but I think from what I've heard is like when you do step into the cage, like you said, it's all focused just on that moment and on the movements, and you're not overthinking. You're not thinking about the crowd. You're not thinking about, you're not anxious. Your heart rate is not erratic. Your breathing is under control. And you're not even scared because you're just focused on the task at hand, right? Which is taking care of this guy in front of you. And that could apply to, to any other sport, right? Whether it's on the soccer, whether it's on the football pitch, you're just focused on your position and what you need to do and, getting the ball, scoring, whatever it is.
And your sense of self, do you feel like there are these moments where sometimes you'll have fighters and you'll interview them and you'll ask, did you see that? Like, did you notice all that? And some of them say like, honestly, I don't know. Like, okay, I have to watch it because you're so in the moment that you're just constantly like responding. There's no sense of time. There's no sense of self. And with no sense of self, then there's no fear or doubt or uncertainty.
Yes. So
then when is that feeling then something that you experienced right from the get-go and that you said, okay, this is something that, I need to constantly, I'm chasing after this elated state of consciousness?
Yeah, well, to be honest.
Like, what sustains you?
Yeah, well, I mean, like I said, I'm super competitive and I just want to win. And now that I have a family, I want to provide for my family and I want to support them. And this is how I put food on the table. But, you know, when I started, I wasn't thinking, I don't even know if the term flow state existed when I first started MMA, but I did realize, like, you know, just as an athlete, you realize when you're doing better than other days, you know, you're like, okay, what was clicking on this one day? Everything was just firing. I was in the zone, you know, maybe in the zone. That's how some people would call it, you know? And definitely it didn't come natural early in my career, like natural in the gym at times and on days, but live competition in any sport is completely different from gym training, you know, or training on your own, you know, just like the pressure when the lights are on and people are watching you. And, you know, if you're not ready for that, that can really you're alone and that can really mess with your head. So I think it was my first professional fight. Yeah, my first professional fight. It was in San Diego, California. And I remember walking out to the cage and stepping in the cage and looking up to the crowd and just being really, really not nervous, but like, what the hell is going on? You know?
You're like, what did I get myself into?
Like I remember the exact thoughts before the fight started was, I remember looking up to the crowd and being like, these guys are all watching me to try to kill that guy there. And he's going to try to kill me. And we're doing it for their entertainment. You know, it was like...
and then when you said that, then what happened?
And then the bell rang. And I was like, oh,
and then you don't have time to think. You don't have the luxury.
No, exactly. So like, it was, you know, like, of course, you're nervous as a fighter. Any fighter that says that they're not scared, that's BS. But I think that the fear that comes from competing in combat sports, it's not fear of getting hurt, because, you know, we get hurt like almost every day in the gym, or we're trained so much.
When you get in the habit of hurting, it just becomes one of those stressors that you choose. It's one of those pains that you choose to be involved with. What is it that you are afraid of? Not necessarily afraid of as a bad thing, but afraid of as, you know, it's the challenge or the fuel or the fear that you know that once you get past that is going to give you what you want. So what is it? It's not getting hurt. What is it?
No, for me, it's honestly losing in like a stupid fashion, you know, like, like getting
something like really, really intimate, like
really profound.
You let my family and my wife and my children down, and you know, they're all, like, I just don't want to look like an idiot.
no, but basically, like, the thing is, I really think that it's like that with a lot of fighters, because we understand that it's entertainment, right? We're not doing it in a in like a garage with two people watching, you know. It's on TV and everyone can see, your family, friends, and so many people you don't even know. So when you do step in there and you compete, at least for me, it's, I don't want to get caught with something stupid, like, and what I mean something stupid, like caught with a punch that just puts my lights out and I'm like, shit, all of that work and I got clipped, you know. That sucks. It's part of the game.
You don't want carelessness, basically.
Exactly. Or a sloppy jiu-jitsu scramble, and, you know, you accidentally get caught in something. So I guess, yes, just being careless and not being careless and getting caught with something. But at the same time, you have to accept that, because that is part of the game. And if you overthink that,
not like in the moment, you can't
exactly.
So then this brings me to a really important question, because, you know, first and foremost, of course, Trifactor Engage is a wellness organization, and we're learning now, of course, that, you know, your mental state and your mental well-being is, you know, paramount before your performance, because your mental state is what actually dictates your performance. So a lot of the times, you know, the crux or our bane of our mental distress isn't because, you know, we're not thinking enough. It's because we're just overthinking, or we're spending too much time either in the shit that happened yesterday or the shit that could happen later on or today. then you lose sight of like the present moment. And that's exactly like the same thing with you. It's like, you have to not overthink. You have to literally, you cannot afford to be anywhere apart from right this second. So what do you do? Is there a practice that you incorporate in your training to exercise that frame of mind, that not just willpower, but to exercise, you know, your focus, because it is a muscle at the end of the day as well.
Yes. Well, you know, I mean, training builds confidence, and practice, like the old saying goes, practice makes perfect, you know? So like you really, you know, I mean, to enter flow state, first of all, I think, you know, you can't enter a flow state if the sport is new to you, right?
Yeah.
So like if you know, like if you did my sport or I did your sport, if I just entered, if you just started competing in a BJJL, like there's no way you could enter flow state, right? Because it's
no way. I mean, like there has to be a certain amount of skill to challenge the ratio.
Yes. I mean, maybe. No, I was gonna make a joke. I was gonna say you could enter flow state with someone else who's really inexperienced, but then it would just be like. But then it would just be like a really weird flow state.
Yeah, I don't. I'm also like one of the clumsiest people ever. Like I basically like my hand-eye coordination. It doesn't work. That's why I chose a sport where I basically just have to go fast.
Nice.
And even then, like in my cycling, I've got like, have you seen like all these scars and stuff? Like I've fallen off my bike like at least 8 or 10 times. You don't want me in a ring.
No, exactly, because practice makes perfect, and you cannot enter that optimal state of performance if you do not have the muscle memory and you have not drilled these things thousands of times, and you know, and also by doing that and drilling them thousands of times in any sport or skill, you have the confidence to do it too. And you have the confidence to do it at any time that you need to, especially when there's bright lights and it's even more difficult, right? So I think, you know, for me, it's just knowing that I left no stone unturned, you know, and that I just did everything I could to perform and to get that win, you know. Like I don't want to enter the cage thinking like, oh crap, I had a really bad weight cut, and training camp was not optimal, you know. I should have done this, I should have done more of this, or I should have done less of this, you know. Like if you start having those doubts, that's gonna mess with your head, you know. So I believe in the grind. I believe in embracing the grind. It's probably part of that's probably from coming from a wrestling background, which is wrestlers are known to be, you know, it's a very grueling sport, so they embrace the grind very well. And I know that, yeah, I'm confident when I fight, when I know I put in the work. Yeah.
And I think when you say like embrace the grind, I think that's whether we're in combat sports or any sport, or even if just, you know, we don't do sports period, I think it's a healthy exercise for anyone to incorporate. It's one of those stoic philosophies, you know, like willingly put yourself under the circumstances that you are afraid of so that you disarm that. So how would you recommend someone who is not a professional athlete to embrace the grind, not just for getting better at a specific skill, but for actually, you know, elevating their quality of life? Because when you do embrace the grind on a regular basis, you know, fear becomes one of those things that becomes almost like a gateway.
Yeah. Well, I think okay, for someone who's okay, let's say someone who's starting off in fitness and they really just want to better themselves and lose some weight and get healthy, you know. You know, a lot of people have to understand that it's going to be uncomfortable, and that's part of embracing the grind. It's going to be uncomfortable. You're going to be sore. You're going to be tired. There are going to be days when you don't feel like working out, but you're going to do it anyway, because if you don't, you're not going to hit your goals, and you're not going to lose weight, or, you know, you're not going to, whatever your goal may be, your fitness or health goal, you know? So, I mean, I think embracing the grind is working hard and also clearly understanding what that entails, you know? Yeah, like when fight camp starts, for example, and I'm working out with Coach Castro, like I know it's going to be absolutely brutal. and there's a part of my brain that has to like switch, and I'm like, okay, yep, the next 1 to 2 months, it's going to be living like a monk and like a caveman and just training like a crazy person to get into the best shape that I can be, and to be a man on a mission and just win this fight or competition, you know? So, yeah, that's how I kind of look at embracing the grind.
When we spoke briefly before, when you find yourself in that rabbit hole or that pit where either you lost or you had a really hard workout, which can be grueling not only physiologically but psychologically as well. And you know, we've all been in that space where we don't feel good. We don't, you know, the thoughts and the emotions, they're running us and not the other way around. And it's almost like you're in this rabbit hole and you can't see the surface. What do you do? Is there like a practice or an intervention or a community or family time that you do specifically for you that helps bring you back out of that, from emotional thinking, you know, into a better frame of mind?
Yeah, like, no, definitely. I mean, you can't run on, you know, you can't, whether it's work and you have a really high stress office job, or a fighter, you know, you can't just be thinking about fighting and watching fight videos and just getting consumed by your next fight, you know, or an athlete. Just like, I mean, you do have to be, I think, okay, to achieve a certain level of success in anything, you know, career or sport, there definitely has to be a degree of obsessive behavior and just for it to consume you. But at the same time, there needs to be a time to unwind, because you can't just go 24/7, right? So for me, yeah, I like enjoying simple things, man. I like enjoying time with my family. I like
Food.
a nice yes, food, exactly. But the thing with food is,
by the way, guys, like for those of you who don't know, like when Mark doesn't need to cut weight, he eats like a pig. He eats everything.
It's borderline disgusting. Actually, it might not just be borderline disgusting. It actually is kind of gross how much I eat.
No, but it's I think it's awesome, you know, like, you know, it's one of those things, like, you know, you disciplined yourself so well, but I don't like listening to people who say, oh no, this is the way you should eat. It'll always be clean, because your body is a temple. Yes, your body is a temple, but at the same time, you know, your mind, like, we enjoy things. Pleasure is such an important thing, and it's such a big, you know, our pleasure hormones, you know, there are such big indicators for our motivation and well-being. Like, you have to always have that balance. And it's great, you know, like, if you want to eat disgustingly and you can still, you know, maintain your performance, do it. And you do.
Well, actually, you can't. So that's why it only lasts for a very short window.
I know,
after my fights. It's like a 1 week window, or maybe, you know, that's what also the you know, that's what cheat meals are for, right? You know, if you've worked really hard for 1 or 2 weeks and you just want one night to let loose and put on Netflix and just eat a bunch of food, you know, enjoy it and go all out. And because back to what we were saying, you know, we need that time to unwind, whether it's through good food, not stress eating, that's a different thing, right? Sure. You know, whether it's through good food, family time. For me, it's good food, family time. Just relaxing and hanging out, man. I'm in such MMA is such a high stakes game and adrenaline fueled sport. So when I want to relax, it's really just like hanging out and watching movies and Netflix and eating some good food. I like fishing. Fishing relaxes my mind.
Yeah, because you're like basically, well, anything that's I would assume, because as a mixed martial artist, your sympathetic nervous system, it needs a huge, you know, balance with your parasympathetic, and like mindless play or like fishing and just like doing nothing is perfect.
No, exactly. Like just sitting there, you know. So completely, you know, polar opposites, I guess. One other thing that I do like to relax my mind. Sorry, you probably thought you were gonna get like, oh, meditation and yoga.
No, but like, it doesn't matter, because I think like obviously those are that's one, like meditation is a great way to like still it and like basically compartmentalize and observe your thoughts. But at the same time, I am a huge believer that some of your best performance, some of your best work and motivation and your greatest ideas come from moments when you are in play. like play that doesn't necessarily have, there's no expectation on the play. You don't have to achieve anything. No one's looking for anything from you, but you're just being, you're in the present moment, basically. Again, it's just present awareness.
Yes. No, exactly.
And play, if you want to, like fishing, that's awesome. And especially time with your family.
Yeah.
You need that.
Yeah. So fishing, and I also like, I haven't been able to do it in years, because I need to buy the equipment, but I like ceramics actually.
What do you mean ceramic? You like making ceramics, or like
making
painting?
like the movie. It's so stupid, but it's the best. It's the best example. The movie Ghost with the ceramic wheel. You know,
Wait,
I really like.
Is Star there with you, and like a little bit of smooth jazz in the background?
She's never tried it before actually. Since I moved out here, but I used to.
You make ceramics?
Yeah, when I was in Japan, when I grew up in Tokyo, at my school in Tokyo, Japan, St. Mary's International School, they had a ceramics program. So before or sometimes after wrestling practice, I would relax and make these big clay pieces on the wheel. You call that the wheel. It's spinning. You slab some clay on it, and then you shape it into whatever you want, whether it's a big bowl or a vase or cups or something. I really enjoy ceramics, and I found it always relaxing. But I guess it makes sense because it's something like fishing. You know, it's just very relaxing to my nervous system and something completely different from fighting. So I guess that's why. But
excel at it.
Pardon?
And you don't have to excel at it.
Yeah, actually, I'm pretty damn good at ceramics.
Don't turn it to work.
I have some. I used to make these really nice, giant Japanese-style plates, like serving plates.
Oh, nice.
And I really enjoyed it. I just haven't. I mean, it's super expensive for one, and just haven't had the space. You got to get a bunch of clay. You need the tools. You need the different glazes for the glaze.
Give Mark a Christmas gift.
A 200,000 peso Christmas gift.
We're taking pledges before they find out how much it is.
Because you actually need a kiln to fire the pieces.
You can't do it
once. Exactly. So that's that takes up. Yeah, basically you need a whole room just for that, and it's something I definitely want to do when I retire from fighting and when I have more time. But
I would assume that would be really, really good. Like especially, it's just to balance. One of my next questions was going to be, obviously, when you're in camp and you need, like, if you look at your heart rate variability, you need a practice to wind down. That would be awesome if like MMA camps had these little pottery nooks where like, or like when they finish, in the grind, then like, all right, it's time to like reinforce your parasympathetic nervous system. There's some crochet and some knitting and like adult coloring books, and that's literally what my sports doctor told me when he said I was bordering adrenal fatigue. He's like, here's some coloring books, this will help.
That's so crazy. Yeah, because a lot of athletes, overtraining is a problem, and I was just listening to a podcast on overtraining, and they were saying how one of the signs is not being able to you're so tired but you still can't sleep. Yeah, and that
go ahead, because this is one of the things
I was going to say that,
like training intelligently, and that's one of the big cornerstones of your practice. So can you expound a little bit more on why it is obviously overtraining that they feel that way, but why people have to really listen to their bodies and making sure that there is that time, and we'll go to recovery soon after. Yes.
Yeah. Well, because, I think you get to a point of, well, you definitely get to a point of diminishing returns, when you're, let's say, actually it's Coach Castro that has to usually pull me back because his workouts are brutal enough. But my background with wrestling, and it's also part of wrestling culture where a lot of wrestlers overtrain. We're well known to overtrain and just push the limits and just keep going and going. And, it's just that burning desire, I guess, to win and to be the best and leave no stone unturned. But at the same time, you know, like there is a limit, you know. If you have, for example, if I have a great workout with Coach Castro in Manila and he put me like through an hour of strength and conditioning, I don't need to go run on the treadmill for 1 hour after that.
Yeah.
You know, like we just fired up all of our fast twitch muscle fibers in our 1 hour strength and conditioning session. And then now I'm just going to go pound on my muscles for 1 hour. And, you know, my immune system's gonna slow down. My muscles are not going to retain those fast twitch gains from the workout. So it's really, I think it really comes down to understanding your body and pushing yourself, like definitely pushing yourself. And yeah, you have to understand your body and what you can handle. And of course, have a good coach. You know, I mean, thankfully, I have a great coach like Coach Castro that pulls me back when he sees me, you know, doing extra. And it's like, okay, Mark, you said you were just going to do extra abs after, hit your core a little bit. Like, why are you, you know, like step away from
the machine, Mark.
And, you know, exactly.
What practical
exactly.
tips
So I mean,
you give people who are not athletes, but who do, you know, want to go to the gym and may not be familiar too much with the whole listen to your body. Sometimes that can be a little ambiguous to some people because people are like, well, aren't I supposed to like push myself and feel like at the end?
Yeah. I mean, yeah. The thing is, it should be very difficult, and you should push yourself to that limit and always be creating new limits for you to try and break. But, you know, see, because that's the thing too, right? Because there's some people, right, that aren't experienced, you know, and they think like, oh, they might hear this and think, oh, I don't want to get injured and I don't want to overtrain. So they do so little, right?
Yeah. They use it as an excuse. They don't listen. Like not listen to other people, but listen to themselves.
It's exactly. And it's like, and they think like, okay, that was enough. And the reality is like, no, it's not enough. You barely put on and you barely did any work, you know, like, and you see it all the time at the gym these days, you know, the people on their phones, you know, like I remember at my gym, my condo gym in Manila, you know, there was a kid on the phone and I was running. I was doing a 45-minute incline run on the treadmill. That was my only workout. And for 45 minutes, I counted him doing 3 sets on the bench press and two sets of shoulders. And I'm like, dude, you did like, yeah, exactly. And it's just like, what are you doing? You know, like you're just wasting your time. You know, like you get a cycle. I mean, for sure, something is better than nothing, of course. You know, he's going to strengthen his chest and his shoulders a little bit. But at the same time, you know, that's not a proper workout. That's not pushing yourself. Like, why waste your time and go to the gym? You could have done, you know, a few sets of push-ups and handstands against the wall in your room, and you would have gotten like a better workout than 45 minutes, 5 sets spread over 45 minutes. So, you know, that's why proper coaches, I guess, are very important, you know, especially if you're starting out. So someone can tell you, you know, and create a program for you and increase the weight or increase the intensity at the right time, not just from the start. And, you know, there's some gyms that are, you know, both in MMA, in fitness, in CrossFit even.
Oh my
not
God.
talking, not talking bad about CrossFit, but you know, there are some.
It can be practiced very, very badly.
Yes. You know,
more often than not.
Precisely. Well, it's also part of the culture, right? Because the culture is based on time and time and speed.
Leaderboard. Yeah.
Precisely.
I did CrossFit for a long time. It was like, how are you not going to get hurt? Well, I mean, obviously there's a way to do it intelligently.
Yes.
That a lot of the times, you know, our egos, and I'm guilty of this as well. You know, you're basically competing, and there's a great aspect to that because it does motivate you, but it's so easy to lose your form as a result, especially if you're doing complex things like, you know, muscle ups and all of that. No,
precisely. And that's why you really need a proper, a well-instructed, a knowledgeable coach that's going to be like, okay, welcome to CrossFit. Okay, John, you've never done sports in your life and you're pretty overweight. we're not going to do fight gone bad workout. We're going to start with a CrossFit bodyweight workout, which is 3 sets of this, and try to finish it under 30 minutes and try to get your best time. But remember, form is the most important. You need those kind of coaches. And, we're not bashing CrossFit, but when what we were saying earlier and what we're talking about are the gyms that don't have those kind of coaches, and they just throw the newbie into
one size fits all.
Into like Olympic snatches or something crazy. Then the guy gets injured, or he does a hard workout and he's sore for a week, and there's being sore, and then there's being like stupid sore, and especially if you're starting up for the first time or you haven't worked out in a long time, it's always best to ease into it and build up the intensity over time.
I think that's one of those and obviously there's some people have a stigma to it that, oh, I don't need a coach, I'm smart enough, I can learn, and I know enough about the human body. Honestly, it's not about inexperience. It's actually about intelligence. If even like all the great athletes or people who are starting, like, having a coach is paramount, especially if you want to be serious about elevating your performance. It's not something to be ashamed about. It's something to be proud about. You're smart enough and you take enough integrity and pride in your body and your work that you want to do things right. And doing things right doesn't always mean, as you said, going for broke and proving. Who are you proving it to? Like, you don't have to prove it. And so many of the times what makes working out or a regular fitness regimen not sustainable is because people always, and I'm guilty of this as well in the past, we try to compare ourselves to the finish line or the target that we want to reach, or the person that we see that's doing that. Oh, I want to do that. And so we jump from the starting point all the way there, and we overload ourselves, and as a result we either hurt ourselves or we're completely wrecked, and that in and of itself ruins our motivation and our progress, so we don't even continue. Like, we forget like those little baby steps, the 1 degree or 1% of increasing the performance in the process is actually what's going to get you there. And as you said, training intelligently with a coach, I think that's something that we should be able to promote more often, something that shouldn't be ashamed of.
Definitely.
And
Definitely. I mean, fitness is that one, especially, fitness is it's a journey, not a destination, it's really, step by step. You can't jump to the finish line. You gotta, you can't jump. It's a step-by-step journey, and you have to embrace the process like we were talking about earlier, and you need an intelligent coach to guide you. And there's no shame in having a coach. Like, we need that outside eye, because there are things that we can't see, that we're doing by ourselves because we're too fatigued, or you don't have a camera on your back, or you don't even know what to look for because you just don't have knowledge on the area. So it's always good to have, in anything, it's always good to have an outside opinion, especially someone who's well versed in that field, right?
And that's one of, whether it's in sports or in work, and actually, funnily and coincidentally enough, is one of the key triggers to flow state is getting immediate feedback. Not doing, it's a pride thing as well, that we like to, do it on our own. But getting that immediate feedback, getting someone to watch and see your work as you're doing it, and being able to then your practice is more well-rounded, because it's impossible. We're not superhumans. We cannot see everything as it is, and so having that outside help is really beneficial, and especially
absolutely.
with recovery. And I really want you to expound on this, please.
Okay.
Because it's one of those things that is kind of I think second priority. That
for
if
sure.
I have enough time, then I'll recover, or I'm gonna plan a block of time for my strength training, my cardio, and then whatever's left is for recovery. Like, that's, if it's not planned, it's not prioritized. Planned or prioritized, you're just not gonna do it. So I give you the stage.
All right. Well, with recovery, I think the art of recovery and mobility training and flexibility and this aspect of sports performance and health has really, only taken, people have started to look more into it, like, I don't know, the last 5 to 10 years, I mean, it's common sense if you think about it. If you want to have a long career, you got to treat your body well. And part of treating your body well, it's not just good nutrition and hard workouts. It's proper recovery. It's stretching. It's mobility training. It's yoga. It's there's so many things. Diaphragm training, like Hicks and Gracie, to open your chest cavity. So many things. For me, I definitely am guilty of that, and I have to remind myself and schedule it, like you said, to put time aside to recover. Whether it's, I think it's also part of today's day and age where everything is about go, harder, better, faster, stronger, So it's like, just outwork everybody. And that is part of it, but there needs to be a window for recovery. So for me, some of the ways that I like to recover, if we're in Manila, I definitely try to get a massage at least once a week, like a nice deep tissue massage. More than anything, what I've been doing these days a lot is foam rolling. And just deep stretches, after hard training. Like last night, actually the last 2 nights in a row, I'm doing intermittent fasting and water fasting.
Oh my
I've been
God.
alternating. So like,
okay.
It's okay. The phone went
How
off for a second.
long? So you're intermittent fasting and then water fasting for 16 hours.
Okay, so what I've done today is the 3rd day, and what I did intermittent. I did a water day fast, all day fast, nothing to eat, only water and BCAAs and black coffee. So not a strict fast, but I did that 2 days ago. Yesterday, I did intermittent fasting from 12 to 8 p.m. And then today was supposed to be my all day water fast. Yeah. But to be honest, 1 hour before we started, I was so lightheaded and fatigued. I was like, yo, how am I going to get through this interview? So I had an apple and I had a small pack of Skyflakes.
Okay. Did you listen to your body?
Well, no, I know now let's, sorry, we're a little off topic, but yeah, it's a little extreme. And definitely not something that I would tell someone with little experience to try, little fitness and health experience, and someone just starting. But for someone like me, very experienced in weight cuts, and I've done intermittent fasting for a long time. I have done water fast. I did a 5-day water fast one. Something like this is feasible. It's okay. You just have to monitor yourself and be very careful with the process and make sure that when you are eating, you're eating the right foods.
Yeah, break your fast as well.
Yes, exactly. When you break your fast, exactly. Especially if you're doing a longer fast, like a 3 to 5 day. Like right now, the apple.
Generally, you do your extended fasts to 72 days. 72 hours.
72 days.
He's not decent. You generally do your extended fast to 72 hours?
I only did the 5-day fast once because the thing that I don't really like about intermittent fasting I'm a fan of because I can sustain that during fight camp and as a professional athlete. But water fast, it's difficult because you can't really train properly. That's the thing. If you're doing
good, especially because of your nervous system, should you really be pushing yourself so much?
Precisely. Like you can work out during a water fast, and for those people that are listening, a water fast, if you're not familiar, it's just drinking water and that's it. You're just having water. You're not eating. And I know it sounds crazy, but the body, it actually can heal your body. It can bring down inflammation, cure gut problems. It can do wonders for your body. Your body can heal itself, basically. But
can you go over real quick on just the stem cell regenesis and all those different healing properties of an extended fast?
Yes. So fasting is great for you. Water fasting is basically a heightened version, I guess, of intermittent fasting. So you are getting similar benefits, just bigger benefits, but you have to be very, very careful. And the reason that I don't do water fasting as much these days is because they recommend, experts recommend, and I feel it myself, that you should not do crazy intense workouts while you're doing a water fast, because you're having nothing but water. What are you going to do if you're, throwing actually, okay, funny story. When I did my first water fast, the 5-day water fast, I continued my MMA workouts and my hardcore strength and conditioning workouts. And I was, throwing my med ball around, slamming it, doing 50 pull-ups a day.
Pull you off the floor, peel you off the floor.
No, exactly. And by the fourth and fifth day, my body was just completely wrecked. Yeah. So I don't even know if I lost weight for sure, but I don't know if I got the benefits of a full proper water fast, because I was just burning the candle at both ends and going, go. So with the water fast, I think light cardio is okay. Some simple body weight exercises, but nothing too severe, nothing too intense. So I've been careful the last few days. The day that I was doing a fast, the day I did a water fast, I just went for a light jog.
Okay.
And I'm just doing this to heal my body, because I was sick before, and to lose a little bit of weight. So
when it comes to your nutrition, obviously you have to be really, really meticulous as a fighter, not only for your weight, because you want to make sure that you're displacing energy efficiently as well. And so if you could, there's no one size fits all. Obviously, everyone has to listen to their bodies, and the only way to do that is to pay attention and in some cases, refrain from eating a lot of different types of food, because only when you refrain, because sometimes we're so used to being lethargic and in inflammation, it's only when we refrain that we notice slight changes as soon as, especially with gluten and stuff. So yes, there's no one size fits all, but are there certain principles of nutrition that you believe will benefit most, if not all, people to incorporate in their practice?
Yeah, I think calories in and out is just knowing, knowing how much you consume, and by out, how much you're burning every day in your workouts. I started working with a nutritionist in Manila that Coach Castro set me up with, Coach Bex. And for the first time, this was only maybe 6 months ago, and for the first time, I started counting my macros. And in all of my years, of weight cutting and dieting, dieting and wrestling since I was 7 years old, 8, and just being aware and restricting water because I had weight classes to make. In all of these years, I never counted my macros. And then I talked to Coach Castro, and he said, yo, why don't you try at this level, we should be doing this. So I started counting my macros, and the weight was really, the weight was coming off. But also what I realized was I felt a lot more energetic, and I just felt healthier, because in the past, when I was dieting for a lot of my fights, I was losing the weight, but I was basically in a ketogenic state. I wasn't eating enough carbs. And as a high performance athlete, as an MMA fighter, we need complex carbohydrates. We need a proper fuel source, right? So I didn't really know how to restrict the carbs, how to include the carbs in my diet without gaining weight. And now that I started working with my nutritionist, Coach Bex, she's been helping me with that, and I feel a lot healthier, and the weight is coming down. The one thing that changed is the grams of fat. I mean, I'm no nutritionist, but I noticed that the grams of fat that I can consume each day are very, very low in relation to the grams of carbohydrates, which are much higher now. And I feel a lot better.
Yeah.
So
when you mix carbohydrates, like high levels of carbohydrates and fat at the same, either you're high fat and low carb, or high carb and low fat.
Yes.
The combination, your
you're going to gain weight.
Shoots up, and then that's why you feel that lethargy, and you just don't have the right amount of energy. Yeah. So that's fantastic. So not just about counting calories, but realizing when you look at your macros, how many of those calories, or what percentage of those calories are coming from carbohydrates, from fat, from protein.
Yes, yeah.
So you say that's been really instrumental.
Yes, it's been really helpful. And I think with most people though, you really just have to be proactive and see what works best for you. You know, like I only found out about, I not found out, but I only started counting macros recently. And I've been, you know, wrestling and doing sports and thinking about nutrition and trying things since I was 8 years old, you know? So it's a journey, and you know, all diets work. All diets really work, but there are some diets that will work better for that specific person, and everybody's body is different. So my advice to people would be really to try things and properly try it. You know, not oh, I tried this diet and I didn't like the results it gave me in 2 days, which is not enough for any diet to really take effect, right? So they stop.
What's the length that you would recommend for people? They're going to try anything to make sure that they have to stick it out for an extended period of time to see the actual benefits. Well,
I don't know if you could give a length for all of them, because it really depends on the diet, right? Like a ketogenic diet takes you, you know, maybe 3 days before you enter ketosis, before you know, burn all the carbs that were in your system and everything. So you would have to look into each diet and then really give it a proper chance to see if it's working for you and if the weight is coming off. Mm-hmm. And that's the part that that's the grind, and not quitting too early. Mm-hmm. And, you know, giving up and being like, okay, I'm going to stick this out until day 10 or day 20 and see what happens. Yeah. And, you know, if you like it, maybe you found something new, but give it a proper chance. Yeah.
I think that's one of the that's a really, really important practice that a lot of people will benefit from, and that goes to like listening to your body, because so many times we go off. I remember like I didn't find what works for me until last year. That's like 30 years of just aimlessly. And then when you find and your body actually has, you know, a plan that is built for its system, and it's able to store and to generate energy efficiently, and there's none of that crap, none of those, like, you know, you're not getting the insulin spikes. It's amazing the energy that you feel, not only, you know, looking great, but not only training great, but, you know, it affects your frame of mind, it affects your quality of life. And you do have to, like you said, just try it, and to not be complacent and say, oh, this is fine just now. Yeah, you may not have any issues. Yeah, you may not be actually allergic, or, you know, you may not have a huge allergic to gluten, but if you actually tried not doing it, how much more energy would you get? So you're not going to find out unless you actually give it a chance. So that's something I think that's really insightful, that'll help a lot of people.
Yeah, and yeah, just properly trying it. You know, there are so many people too that try diets for a few days and then they get frustrated, and then on the 5th day they binge eat. Yeah. You know, just go crazy. And then they go back to the diet for 3 days this time, and then they binge eat again. And then after, you know, a month, they're like, you know, I'm not losing any weight. Well, yeah, because you've been yo-yoing for, you know, every 3, 4, 5 days. So of course that's not gonna happen. You didn't properly try the diet and actually stay disciplined to the diet. Wow. So, you know, discipline is the key word, and trying things out, because everyone's genetic makeup is different, you know? Like Joe Rogan, I remember on his podcast, he was talking about the carnivore diet, and that's crazy, right? And like,
how do they sustain that?
I know, right? Like, okay, the carnivore diet.
Tell people what the carnivore diet is.
Yeah. So the carnivore diet is an all meat diet. It's just all red meat. So you're not having any vegetables. You're not having any carbohydrates. You're having nothing but red meat. So, you know, steaks. Wait, is carnivore diet chicken included? I think it's only red meat. I think it's only red meat, right?
It's only a lot of red meat.
Yeah, I think it's just like a crazy amount of steaks.
I don't know how do you sustain that, because your body literally, like, I don't know how you're able to break down all that protein.
No, exactly. And okay, like,
does it work?
There are some people that are, well, a lot of people actually lose weight from it. And one of the reasons that they suspect that people are losing weight from it is because just the amount of calories is lower, because, you know, it's just how, you know, you eat a few steaks, you're super, super full, and it's less calories than, you know, eating bowls and bowls of pasta and cheese and other things, carbohydrates and other sources. But also there are people that are, you know, like getting, their bodies are healing from this carnivore diet. Like, you know, some of their health ailments are going away, like, I don't know, skin eczemas and different things, you know, and for whatever reason, that's working for them with their body and their genetic makeup, you know. And who would have thought, you know? I mean, I personally, I'd like to see if it works over a really long period of time.
That's what I'm saying. I'm like, what is it gonna be like over like X amount of years? Like, because you see like people who do vegan diets, and they realize later on you actually have to supplement, you know, with B12 and fish oil and all that.
Yes.
And so what does that have over the human body over?
No, I know, that's the thing, right? Because you would think that you're just not getting enough vitamins and minerals and nutrition, right? It's not a complete diet, and you would need to supplement. So I don't know, but I remember that guy. It's just a funny way to illustrate our point, that guy on the Joe Rogan podcast, I think he's been doing it for like a year, and he's super, super healthy. He's lost weight. A lot of his problems within his body, sore joints, whatever, they've disappeared. So I guess, the moral of that story is you have to try it out. And
I like how, so you mentioned, you know, obviously it's not just, obviously the food that we eat or the nutrition that we intake, and that includes the supplements, of course, isn't just about whether our body is able to efficiently expel energy and lose weight. You know, it's also, as you said, like all of a sudden his joints started to feel better. You know, there's so much that we don't see past. Just because you may not be obese doesn't mean you're actually healthy. There's so much that we don't see inside, especially with like inflammation and water retention, that has such a big effect not only on our metabolism and our digestion, but also on our nervous system and the way that we feel. And so I think it's also a really beneficial thing when we try things to not only see how it affects our weight or how we look, but to look at it in a holistic way and say, how is my mood? How are my energy levels? How does it feel like, you know, when I'm working out? Am I able to recover faster? You know, how is my mobility? You know, is it creating a little more tension? Is my circuit? And these are all things that unfortunately, there's no quick fix around it. You can't just slap it on and hope that it goes for the best. If we want to go into optimizing our health, not just, you know, you don't have to be a professional athlete to treat your body in this way. In anything that you want to do, you know, nutrition is it's your fuel. And so you do have to, it is a discipline, but the results are second to none. We just have to try, as you said, and to pay attention while we try.
Yeah, I think a lot of beginners and people starting to get into fitness and becoming more health conscious, they get so caught up with weighing themselves and just the numbers on the scale, you know, and that's so wrong, because like all MMA fighters, I can jump in a sauna and lose 15 pounds.
Exactly.
Like I can lose 15 pounds in 24 hours, but that's just water. That's not real weight, you know? Like some person that doesn't know better, they might get on the scale and be like, oh my gosh, I lost 2 pounds, but they don't realize that they're so dehydrated and that they haven't had any glasses of water that whole day. So that's why they've lost those 2 pounds. You know?
They wonder why their cells and their muscles, everything's deteriorating.
Everything's deteriorating, why they're so sore. They're just, you know, their body's cramping, you know, but they look good, you know? So yeah, like, just, it's a big package to understand and to really, to embrace everything, but trying out different diets and being careful, proper research, and just not getting caught up in the numbers game on the scale. Because like I was saying earlier with my weight, I would make weight for some of my earlier fights, and the number would be there. I'd make the weight class, which is featherweight. I fight at 145 pounds, and I would make it. And now I also can make the same weight, but I feel better and I can perform better. And, you know, and I make the weight in both cases, but don't you want to feel better and just, you know, it's not just performance, improved mood and just more energized and happy, you know?
Which feeds your performance.
Yes, exactly.
And it's like, I think yes, it is a big thing to take on. It's going to be a pain in the ass, But when you actually find something that works for you, the amount of benefits that you will see, as you said, not just in your performance, but in your overall quality is like, the only thing that pops in your mind is like, why didn't I try this in the first place? Like, why? That's really what I thought last year. Like, why is it taking me so long to get to this point? Because we're so stubborn. I'm the first to raise my hand. Like, we're so stubborn. So like, if you haven't tried it, don't feel like it's too late. You know, I've been in sports for quite a long time. Mark Mugen is he's a professional athlete, and he's just figured it out. So it's never too late. And once you try it, I promise you guys, once you find something that works for you in anything, in nutrition, in your workout, in your recovery, the amount of years that it adds, or amount of life that it adds to your years is second to none. So we've got about 15 more minutes. I've got 2 questions for you. Before
we continue, 1 second. Let me plug this into my,
okay.
Yes, we're at 8%. 1 second.
I'll talk about the couple of things that I'm going to ask you. So,
cool.
Here on Trifactor Engage, which is our new holistic wellness channel, where we're connecting, different experiences from not only athletes and wellness professionals and PhDs in psychology, but also, life-changing testimonies to our viewers. What we want to instill here is that we create a space where we connect you to this information, but we could also connect you to each other. So please feel free. Here on this page, we want to make this as interactive as possible, and we want to make sure that we curate our content not based on our own schedule or what we think would look nice or what would be fun to talk about. But we want to make sure, first and foremost, that this content is instrumental in the community and how it affects the community's frame of mind and lifestyle. So if there's anything that you're confused about, whether it's regards to your nutrition, your fitness, your mental and emotional well-being, anything along those realms, please make sure to send us a message right on the drop-down menus below, and we'll make sure that if we don't have the answers, to connect you to a professional that you do. So Mark is back, and we've gone over the cornerstones of your practice, obviously eating, training, and recovering intelligently. I like to ask like two big important things. One is something that's been really, really challenging for you, and how, looking back, that challenge, or what you were so scared shitless of, was actually the gateway to what builds your resilience, whether it's your frame of mind or your physicality. And then I'm going to ask you for your secret special sauce, meaning what sets you, it doesn't have to be like the most important thing, but something that people may not know that you do, that really helps you, whether it's like standing in the shower in the cold shower doing breathing exercises, or going out and dancing in your underwear. Like,
it's ceramics. No, I'm just
ceramics. That's right. Yeah, that's true.
No, I'm joking.
So the secret sauce is ceramics. No, actually, that would be perfect. I would have loved that. You want to be an MMA?
Join ceramics.
Champion?
Exactly.
Pick up ceramics.
At our gym, we have a ceramics room, and right after training, 10 fighters go there side by side, and we sculpt. Exactly.
We sculpt our bodies. We
sculpt our bodies and the clay. Yes. Precisely.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah. Well,
let's go with a challenge.
Okay.
It can be like really, really funny. Or it can be something really, profound. It's up to you.
Okay.
Just make it good. Just kidding.
Okay. One of the craziest challenges that definitely shaped me. I mean, it's not. I might have something crazier out there. There might have been something crazier, but maybe a longer story. This one's a little funny.
Mm-hmm.
This one's funny, and it definitely showed me, the importance of finishing the task and just hard work in general. So, when I was based in Malaysia, I was in Malaysia for training at the time. I was based there for like a few months, and I got offered a fight in Manila, a last minute, 10-day short notice fight in Manila against Alcer Lozada, in the URCC at SMX Convention Center. This was a few years back, and it was a short notice fight. So it was on 10 days. And the first thing when you get offered a fight as a fighter, you check your weight. That's really what fighters do. Like, okay, fight's been offered. let's see where we're at. Can I even make the weight for the fight in the first place, right? And of course, you know, you want to be a healthy fighter and not get too heavy, so you can always make the weight. But, you know, 10 days, it's a very short notice fight. So anyway, I was in Malaysia. I got on the scale. I checked my weight. It said 10 pounds. So I was like, oh, 10 pounds. For now for an MMA fighter, for a boxer, 10 pounds is not that hard to lose, to cut, as we call it, in the last few days before a fight. You can really do that just from dehydrating your body, from old school style. You may run in the sun in sweats, or, you know, new school style, you know, saunas. You sit in a sauna and you maybe sip a little bit of water, but you're sweating more than you're ingesting. And we can lose 10 pounds in, you know, one
you do the
hard.
makeup remover swabs where, you know, you have like, you know how like they have the makeup remover swabs that do for your face? Do you do that on your body to like?
I've actually never tried that. I've tried the only thing in the sauna I use sometimes is like a credit card, just to like swipe off the sweat, you know, so the pores can open again and they just keep sweating. But I've never tried maybe I'll try it now. So yeah, so I was 10 pounds over. I checked and I was like, okay, no problem, let's take the fight. So flew to Manila, and it's the night before the weigh-ins. So with fight sport, there's the weigh-ins, and then the next day is the fight. So it's the night before the weigh-ins, and I get on the scale in Manila. I'm staying at a hotel in Makati, and I get on the. Okay, I expect there only to be 10 pounds, right? Because that's what the scale in Malaysia said. And 10 pounds, I can go straight to the sauna at night and lose it like that. Maybe a little bit in the morning right before the weigh-ins. I get on the scale and it says 20 pounds.
What scale in Malaysia did you use?
Exactly. So to my horror, and this, you know, yeah. So to my horror.
How long before your weigh-in?
It's the next morning, or the next.
Oh my gosh.
At 11 a.m. 11 a.m. the following day at GAB, at Games and Amusements Board. It's at 11 a.m. and I think this is 8 p.m. now. So it's 8 p.m. and I realize that I have 20 pounds to lose, and the weigh-ins are at GAB at 11 a.m. the following day. So I got to lose 20 pounds from 8 p.m. to 11 a.m. So I'm like, wow, this is going to be a really miserable night right away, right? So I recognized that. I told myself.
20 pounds overnight?
What's up?
Have you ever cut 20 pounds overnight?
No, never in 24 hours. No, or overnight. But anyway, so I immediately embraced the fact that this is going to be miserable, you know, just like when I walked into the gym and I'm like, yep, I'm going to get my ass kicked today. So I'm like, okay, 20 pounds, but we can do it. Yeah, basically I went to a sauna. I think I went to Wensha Spa, and I lost like 10 pounds in Wensha Spa. And then when you're dehydrating yourself, your body stops sweating at a certain point, and it's just so dry, and it gets harder and harder to lose weight, especially when it's as much as 20 pounds. So after 10, 11, 12 pounds, I stopped sweating as much, and I didn't know how I was going to squeeze out the remaining 8 pounds. But I just kept trying different things, sauna, running, everything. And I remember in the middle of the night, at one point, I told my buddy in the condo, I was like, yo, dude, I got to go put on my sweats and go run through Makati. I'm going to go to this area. If I don't come back in an hour, can you please look for me? I'm probably passed out somewhere, you know? So anyway, yeah, I ran all night. I used the sauna. Yeah, I ran all night. I used the sauna. I made the weight the following day.
Oh my gosh, no way.
Yeah, I made the weight. I think I ran a little bit in the morning too, just to lose the last pound or two. But it was a horrible weight cut, and in no way is that healthy, you know. But well, you know, what it taught me is that, you know, I can mentally push to those limits.
Yeah.
And you know, like as a fighter, our job is to show up on fight night and fight, and make a contracted weight limit. And, you know, that was the weight limit that I agreed on 10 days out. And, you know, I can't say, oh, it's the scale in Malaysia, you know, and then now I have an unfair advantage over my opponents because of a scale in Malaysia. You know, it's my job as a professional fighter. That's my responsibility. So I decided that it was going to suck, but I was going to make that weight. And yeah, I lost 20 pounds in that amount of time. And it was horrible. It was horrible, but I did it, and I was happy that I did it, you know.
I think it's also one of those, you know, when you have integrity, we're habitual in the sense that when something goes wrong, or even if we're running late, that we say, oh, I'm sorry, I ran late, this happened.
Mm-hmm.
Like we make excuses, not just like for other people, but for ourselves as well. Yeah. But I feel like the more you take responsibility, the more we take responsibility, not only, you know, the more our actions will reflect that, but, you know, we take ownership, and the more we take ownership, the more results we actually get, rather than being, you know, conditioned by a certain circumstance. So in this case, yes, was it kilograms and pounds that was what you missed, or the scale was actually messed up?
The scale was actually messed up. I can't remember what kind of scale it was, but it wasn't a good scale.
It was a bad scale.
It was a bad scale.
But you know what? You took it. You had integrity, and you know, you did the work, and that's awesome. That's a great story.
Yeah. No, I had to. Yeah, it's my job, and I've had opponents that have missed weight in the past, and it's just so disrespectful to you know, to your opponent. You know, like, one, you're going to be bigger than the other guy on fight night, so you're going to have an unfair advantage. And two, like I said, you have two jobs: make weight and fight. So yeah. Crazy.
All right, what's your special sauce? Your secret sauce?
My special sauce. Well, you know, we already talked about it a little bit earlier. I tried thinking about it, actually, because you let me know the other night that you probably get asked this question. So I actually tried thinking about it. Like, I really thought about it. I'm like, do I have like something that I always do, or a ritual or something? And honestly, I really don't. And all I can say for my special sauce is that I try to leave no stone unturned. Like we talked about earlier, I just try to grind, work hard, outwork everybody, and but intelligently, of course, like we talked about, and you know, outwork everybody. But that doesn't just take into account like the actual grueling workouts. That takes into account recovering properly and stretching and doing the things that you don't want to do. Like the other night, you know, forcing myself to foam roll, you know, at midnight, because I know that if I don't do it, I'm going to be stupid sore the next day. So,
especially when you don't feel like it as well.
Yes,
and
exactly.
I think that's a lot of the times we have this cognitive dissonance, or this cognitive discord, where we know what we should do, but our behaviors don't actually reflect that, because, you know, maybe we just don't feel like it. But that is your secret sauce, because that is actually, you've ingrained that in your habits, as you know that this is something you should do. Even if you don't feel like it, you just have to do it. You just have to do it. And in that, you know, you are literally taking responsibility for all of it. And as a result, you know, it shows up, and you're the champ.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, Nate. Guys, again, as I mentioned earlier, we want to create content here that is really instrumental for the community, not just content that we feel like talking about. So if there's anything specific that, you know, you loved about Mark's testimony here today, you know, just give us a little bit of a shout out. And if there's anything else, any questions that you have, or anything you want to learn moving forward, please don't hesitate to ask. Mark, thank you so much for taking the time.
My pleasure.
To star in the little one for me. Hopefully we'll see each other again very, very soon.
Yes, most definitely. Take care. God bless Elle. Thanks everyone who's watching. Take care. Thanks.